Yes, people, what's happening? Nice one for coming back to the Fuse UK. It's much appreciated as always. Tonight's guest, who's coming on the show, fight just announced yesterday, is going to be fighting on BKFC 55 in the UK against Danny Christie, headlining. And just had a recent fight with Josh Dyer that was called a no contest. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting him on. He should be with us any second now. We're going to find out what happened, where it all began in the combat sports world. Let's get him in. But yes, people, as well, this show is sponsored by Skins and Needles Education, RSD Transportation, and EcoSmart. Made it a little bit easier now to get them out there. Just put them above me. I just need to duck it down a bit. But yeah, people, I was buzzing. It got announced yesterday, BKFC 55 in Leeds, 18th of November. Danny Christie versus Jared Warren headlining the show. And there's going to be plenty more fights coming out in the next few days. It's going to be some card like. Done a good little podcast last night as well with Mike and Mish from the Mission Accomplished podcast over in America. That was a good one, so check that out, guys. But we're with him now. Here he is, Captain Deadpool, Jared Warren. What's happening, brother?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm all good, Jared. How are you, bro?
Doing all right, man. Just dealing with the day-to-day stuff outside of fighting, home ownership and all that jazz, but doing well, man. How you everything good over there?
Yeah, spot on, mate. Other than the weather, we haven't got the weather that you guys have got over here, sadly. So it's miserable, mate.
Yeah, we lucked out on that side. It's not too much complaining on that part over here.
Yeah, I was wondering, mate, with this podcast, if we could start it off by you telling us where your fighting journey began, whether it was a combat sport or fighting young growing up in the streets. Where did it all begin for you?
So, for some reason, like when I first started in this, like I always wanted to be a kickboxer growing up.
Yeah.
I didn't have any family that were, anything other than street fighters. But it's just something I wanted to do. So, I kind of dabbled in just like basic martial arts growing up. Didn't count for much, but it was just kind of something that I did as a kid. And then when I got about 18, 19, I finally decided to make a go at it. So I found a real kickboxing coach in my area, asked him to train me, and kind of took off from there, man. I had a good, decent number of amateur fights. I got to travel around a little bit for it, mostly in the States. Got to fight it up in Canada once while I was still amateur on Team USA. We did like a Team USA versus Team Canada thing. And kind of maxed out there. I was able to get a amateur world title with that. And then I took a little time off from competing for school. Went to the firefighter academy and stuff. But I stayed training. I just wasn't actively competing for a while. Then I hit that point where I wanted to turn pro. But over here, like, it's kind of, it was like an ongoing, like, saying. It's like, hey, you turn pro for kickboxing, you pretty much retire, because it's not that popular of a sport, anymore. And at that time, MMA had exploded. It was taken off. So I made a transition into that to go pro, and won my first one. Went real well, but I did not know the first thing about grappling or wrestling or any of that at the time. I was just like, I kind of went in not with a cocky attitude, but with a confident, like, oh, I'm such a good striker, I'll just be able to pull it off with just knowing that. And I was correct for my first fight, but for the second and third one, it was like the same thing. Like I beat the guy up pretty good for about a round and a half. And whenever the guy finally got a takedown, he'd be able to get me in some kind of submission that I didn't know what to do with, And I did start training, jiu-jitsu and wrestling stuff after that, but it's good stuff to know, but I didn't really enjoy that side of it, and ultimately, like, even though we make some money for this, ultimately, like I fight just because I enjoy it. You know, like I still got my full-time job and stuff. This is strictly because I enjoy it and it gives me something to look forward to. So I kind of backed off from MMA, and I really thought that I was kind of done competing. You know, I didn't really see a route for me. And then you know, back in 2019 is when I first started catching wind of BKFC, and I was an instant fan. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this shit's exciting, it's professional, it's only striking. I'm like, this is awesome. I can make a go at that. So yeah, they came to Tampa Bay once. I'm sorry, did we go? Oop. You still hear me right there?
Yeah, yeah. I was just
Okay.
someone just sent me like a super sticker in the chat, so I
Oh,
was just
okay. Okay, sorry. But yeah, I came to Tampa Bay, Florida, where I'm from, and one of my old coaches had Dave Mundell actually was going to fight on there. It was going to be Dave's second fight, if I'm not mistaken, and they were kind of posting about it, and I was like, kind of went on there. I was like, got room for one more, you know, and we were able to make it happen and get me on the prelims and stuff, and that went really well. You know, got a first round knockout, and just kind of took off from there, man. When I first did that, I wasn't making any kind of big plans at the time. I was just like, I just wanted to fight again. I missed it. It had been a number of years, and after I won that fight, I was like, well, shit, I don't really have a good reason not to keep seeing how far I can go with this. So
yeah.
then I was addicted and back to training full time, man. Unfortunately, like we weren't able to get a lot of fights in those first couple of years because COVID and such, you know, put a big damper on things. But you know, but I stayed as active with it as I could, and here to stay as long as I can, man.
That's what I mean. So, but you've been in the BKFC pretty much from the beginning. Was it BKFC 8? When you fought Brian Maxwell, was that your first fight?
Yeah, you're correct. That was it. Yeah, I was early on, and I don't even think I took it that seriously until I started to see who I was fighting alongside. Because that card they had Bigfoot Silva and Gabriel Gonzaga were the headliners,
Yeah.
and I was like, shit, you know, we all know who they are, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a big deal, and I wasn't even wanting to cut any weight. They're like, you know, what do you walk around at? I was like 195 pounds. And they're like, okay, so you want to fight at 185? I was like, no, I'll do 195. and Maxwell was in agreement with it. So we fought at 195. You know, and then after that, now once they finally made real weight classes, you know, because they were still kind of on the new side of deciding where they were going to go with that. 195, as you know, is not a weight class. So I was like, okay, 185 is perfect for me. So, yeah, man, that was a good. I felt very fortunate to be on that show. You know, with some of the bigger names like that.
How did you feel like in your debut compared like the transition from MMA to bare knuckle? Was it everything that you thought it was going to be?
So the impact transfer is different. You know, it's not necessarily that you like it hurts more or anything like that you notice the pain, because you know, most fighters will tell you you don't really feel headshot. You don't feel like you might get dazed or concussed and feel that, but on the surface side of it, you don't really notice that big a difference. But it does transfer different because I all my years of kickboxing and the bit of MMA and stuff, I'd never been knocked down, and then in that first round, it was my first time again competing in years, but you know, he kind of got me with a little check hook, and like it didn't make me dizzy or concussed or anything, but all of a sudden I was just like, oh shit, I was on my ass. You know, I popped right back up, and that kind of fired me up, and you know, I went back to drop him a few times in that round, but yeah, it was different. And then from there, you know, my next fight was the first time me and Dyer fought, and I didn't have a coach at that time, and I was just kind of still going off of my, you know, my thought process of like more or less like, okay, it's kickboxing without kicks, which is I kind of been more wrong. It was one of those things I didn't know what I didn't know. And then after I had that loss, Martin Brown, Martin Smash Brown is a good buddy of mine. He knew me from back in MMA and stuff. And him and one of my other coaches had started Shift MMA down here. And he called me up and invited me in. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you come train with us?" And I was like, all right, man, I'll come check it out, because I always knew Trey as we called Martin Trey. I always knew him as like my best competition with the striking side of things. Whenever we would do MMA together, like we were kind of similar. Like my old gym, I could beat everybody in striking, but they could all beat me on the ground. So we kind of would learn from each other. But Trey was another one that when he would come over and we would spar, he had really good striking too. So we both got some really great work with each other. So thankfully he invited me in, and then I really started learning how to box, and it's just been it's been awesome being over there with those guys, and it's a constant never ending learning. You know what I mean? Like, I think some people think that that boxing is very simple. Like, oh, you got just two hands and there's only so many different directions you can throw punches. But there's so much more to it, man. Like, and so it made it fun for me again, to go in and be learning something new on the side of striking that, I don't know, just kind of help elevate me to the next level.
Like, obviously, it's 7 fights deep. Am I right?
8, because we got that one. No contest on there.
Yes, and obviously you've got this fight coming up that's just been announced yesterday with our very own Danny Christie. What's your thoughts on the fight when it got offered to you?
Well, the first thing we asked for after my last fight was a immediate rematch. You probably know, as a general rule, BKFC doesn't like to do rubber matches. They usually like to put at least a year in between, if not longer. So with that not being an option, I think similar to Danny Christie, that you want to fight somebody else that's ranked, somebody else in the top 5. And I've already fought Doolittle, I've already fought Dyer, and Mundell's my teammate. So the only other guy is Christie. And I've got to see a couple of his fights and stuff. I respect the guy. I think he's a solid fighter, and this is what I want. Like, I don't like easy fights. I think the fans, even if you're a fan who's never fought before, I think they can tell when people get matched up with lopsided opponents. I mean, they can tell, like, okay, this guy's really experienced, this guy's not. And then, you got a 30-second fight that people don't really enjoy. It's one-sided. I like it when both guys are getting after it and both guys know what they're doing, so but you got, I got to give you credit, because you guys kind of helped speak this into existence. When you put up the post about him calling out the top 5.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize I was tagged in it till maybe 8 hours after you guys had put it up, and I saw, I was like, oh shit. And I was also surprised that nobody else had responded. So I mean, as soon as I read it, you saw what I put, let me know, ready to go. So that was honestly the first talks about it. So from there, it became a reality real quick, so that's awesome. So I appreciate you guys putting it out there in the news.
No problem, mate. You got to dangle the hook and the bait out there sometimes. But I'm taking it you've watched Danny's fights that he's had so far in the BKFC. What's your thoughts on his performances so far?
So the only one that I actually did watch was his most recent one against Holmes, and that was a good fight. That was Anthony Holmes is a solid competitor. He's always done well for himself.
Yeah.
And it was a good banger, back and forth up until it ended. They both got some good shots. I know Christie was cut pretty good, and he's lucky that they let it keep going, because sometimes, I hate to say it, sometimes they stop fights pretty quick if you got a pretty good gash.
Yeah.
And had that happen, he wouldn't have got the W. But I am glad for his sake that they didn't stop it, because obviously, he still had more in the gas tank, and was able to get the W. But yeah, good guy. I mean, it seems like a solid fighter, and I look forward to it, man. I think we're gonna have a good fight that the fans enjoy and that they talk about for a while.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And have you ever been over at the UK before?
I haven't, man, and I'm excited. I've the closest I've been is I think it was 2015. I got to do a little trip of it was like Paris and Amsterdam I went to. So I think I had a connecting flight in the UK, but that was it. I've never got to go and experience it. So I'm excited to come over there.
Yeah, we're looking forward to having you as well, mate. And am I right in saying you're with Crystal Pittman?
Yes, sir. Yep.
So another bare knuckle couple.
Yeah, she's gonna come make the trip with us. So she'll be there in the crowd. There'll be a handful, because at least two of my coaches are coming too. So yeah, and hopefully we can get to see a little bit what your guys' countryside is like over there, and maybe party after. How late do your bars stay open? Do they close? They ever close?
There was some places that don't close, but genuinely, like, I haven't been out drinking for years, but they used to close like 4, 5, 6 in the morning.
Oh, perfect. Because I know, like from my area it's 3 a.m. The fights will probably get done, 12 or 1. They usually do. And then I think we have to fly out like pretty early the next morning, so there's really no reason to go to sleep. So hopefully
you're flying back home the day after?
Yeah. Some of the team have other obligations that they'll have to get back to. So we'll be there, I think 4 or 5 days leading up to the fight. So that'll kind of be the only time I get to experience anything. But I wish I could stay longer. I would really like to stay for, a week or two and really take it all in. But I'll have to make that for later on down the road.
Yeah. And what can we expect to see from Jared at BKFC 55?
Action as always, man. I don't ever fight like a wild man, but I do like to keep the pressure, and most of my fights have ended with either first or second round knockouts. So either way, there's gonna be plenty of entertainment. You know what I mean? Like, I like fighting guys like that fight Christie style, because he from the little bit I've seen, he does like to come forward, and I like that better. You know what I mean? Sometimes if guys skip around too much and try and play tag, even though it's a style that might work, it's not enjoyable to watch or be a part of. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think our styles will make for an awesome fight.
We could just got somebody in the comments asking, who's your favorite BKFC fighter to watch?
Favorite one to watch. I mean, we got a awesome stable of guys over at Shift MMA, and I love watching my people win. You know what I mean? Like, Mundell always does well. Brandon Allen, he's been exploding this past year, coming up the ranks real quick. Yeah. And then you mentioned my girl Crystal. She finally flipped that switch in the last fight. She, before she started training with us, before she knew me, she didn't have much of a trainer at all, kind of in a similar situation that I used to be in. But she's got some good natural aggression to her. She got some good natural power. So my coach Jihad, he was able to kind of tune that, you know what I mean? Like teach her how to use it properly without it being like, you know, just like a crazy person. And she finally just did it, you know what I mean? She went out there and just, you know, no disrespect to her opponent, but she went out there and, you know, handled the girl pretty well and put a hurting on her. And she works hard, trains hard, man. So yeah, I like watching all my people from over there get after it.
What's it like seeing your missus in a bare knuckle fight?
It's interesting because the first time I got to see it was a night, you know, Colorado last year when I wasn't fighting, and there's so much more. Like I don't really get anxiety from fighting myself, but when I was watching her get ready to fight and actually be in there, and I don't have anywhere to like displace that energy, I'm just kind of like I'm kind of wound up, you know, watching her get it. So it's, you know, it's a little strange. It's kind of like I'm finally understanding what, you know, my friends and family have always said in the past. They're always like, man, I love watching you fight, but I really don't want to see you get hurt, this and that. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm fine. You know, I do this under my own choice. But then you see somebody else you care about that does it, then you start to get it. So yeah, it gives me a little bit of nerves when she does, but you know, I know she enjoys it just as much as I do, and you know, she's coming along just fine.
Yeah, she's classmate, wicked fighter is Crystal Pittman. Hopefully we're going to get her on the podcast one day, mate.
Yeah, she'd be happy to come on.
She said she was going to before, but I think something popped up. But I'll give her a message and hopefully we can sort something.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
But before we wrap it up, mate, is there anything else you want to share with us? Any sponsors, any shout outs, anything like that?
You know, I've been fortunate with OnlyFans has been my biggest sponsor, you know, as an athlete. So big shout out to them. And another one that I've had over here is Foil Surfboards. They've been with me since the beginning. That's another fireman, and he just, you know, he's got his own business and he builds that on the side, and they've always stuck with me. Another one called Jet ICU. They've been awesome. They've never let me down or anything. So those are some solid guys. And but no, man, otherwise I appreciate you having me on the show, and look forward to meeting you all the guys in person in a couple months.
Sweet, bro. Like I said, we look forward to you coming over, and I really appreciate you giving me your time. Hopefully we can stay in touch now, and like through camp we can do a couple of podcasts and see how you're getting on.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Hit me up anytime. I'd be happy to come back on.
Great stuff, mate. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, pal.
You too, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon, mate. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Yes, people. Nice one for tuning in there. That's Danny Christie's next opponent at BKFC 55, Jared Warren. It's going to be some fight like. Tickets are out now. If you can't make it, download the BKFC app. Who have we got here? Rick Doughty. Hope you're okay, my brother. RSD Transportation. It's all back front here. Look like I'm dancing. Respect to both, man. Danny wins this one for me. His power and toughness will get him the win, but you never know. It's bare knuckle. Dangerous Darren, big up, brother. Rob Cunningham, who's also going to be fighting on the card at BKFC 55. Looking forward to see Rob back in action. Mark Davies, big up, brother. Amber Ray, hope you're okay. Video Ken, big up, my mate. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that there. Slim Reaper as well. There he is. Hope you're well, my mate. There he is there. Oh, made me blush, Rob. Well, like I said, that podcast there was sponsored by Skins and Needles Education, RSD Transportation, and EcoSmart. Really appreciate the support from everybody. And we're going live again in 6 minutes with a mystery guest. See you soon.